Hey, welcome to Beer Christianity Shots, or Shorts, or whatever you want to call it. It's the short episodes of Beer Christianity where we don't demand an hour or an hour and a half of your time to explore the topic really deeply. Which is why this one's probably a weird one to choose for that, because we're talking about answered prayer, faith, and whether God heals, and how that should be preached in our churches. That's the main question I'm interested in right now. How do you preach faith in healing and faith in God's intervention in a responsible way? From the pulpit, from the stage, whatever. We're joined by a special guest whose voice you might recognize. It's recorded in my car, so I've tried to clean up the audio as well as I can. I recorded it on Tuesday, but I'm releasing it on Thursday, and the reason is that in between I was quite busy, had some friends to see, which is nice for me, and also because I was recording New Old Music, which is my music show on Spotify. So if you search for New Old Music, I believe the one that I recorded this week is called Taylor Shark versus Amy Smith. So you should check that out. It's only available on Spotify, and if you got premium, you can listen to the whole thing. Otherwise, you have to find the songs yourself. But I'd love it if you did listen to it. This episode is about 15 minutes long, probably verging on 17 now because I've been talking so long, sorry. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. You can email me at beerchristianity@yahoo.com. You can also get in touch on Twitter, beerxianity. We're on Instagram, Facebook, those sorts of places. If you like this stuff, please share it with your friends. If you don't, please share it with your friends. I haven't written a newsletter in a while, but that's also available on Substack. So if you look for Beer Christianity, the newsletter, you'll find that too. Planning on doing some writing for that, but have been writing for Christianity magazine, so look out for my stuff. I reviewed a really excellent book that I spoke about on a previous episode called Four Pillars. Four Pillars? The Pillars. Pillars is what it's called. So you can check it out as well. Anyway, here's Beer Christianity Shorts, all about faith in healing. Hello, I'm back in the car, not because I'm talking about petrol this time, but because that's where I am. And guess who I have with me?
It's a secret surprise guest.
Secret surprise guest. It's Laura! Yay! Kind of unsafe for us both to be clapping there, but that's fine.
Just the chaos you get used to when you're being driven by you in the car.
Yeah, I'm sorry. On a scale of 1 to 10, how terrifying has this drive been?
Well, I've not been afraid at all, but that's because I don't know how to drive, so I don't really notice when people do things that are not safe.
Good.
Like, I'm the best person to be driving with because I don't know if you're a bad driver. I could not tell you.
You're like the antithesis of driving with one's mom, where she grabs the handle.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of that. I've had many people be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was so bad driving." I'm like, "Friend, I literally did not notice. And I will only notice if you crash."
So I was driving with Sarah from A Tale of Two Singles many years ago, and she did something, and I grabbed the handle that's on the ceiling of the car out of just an instinctive fear, which made her so mad. She was so annoyed. And I realized in that moment that I'd become my mother.
Yeah.
So, fun times.
I see you tensing.
Yeah. No good. We are just coming back from a doctor's appointment, not a joint doctor's appointment.
We are. No.
Are you going to say we're pregnant? You know, this is why people think we're having an affair, right?
There was a maternity unit where we were.
Oh, and they had that store.
A placenta store.
A placenta store, an outdoor shed.
Like a shed with like the doors are in like a shack, you know, with the ventilated doors.
Yeah.
Placenta store sign
Placenta store
on the outside.
Quite gross, not gonna lie.
We didn't go in.
We did not.
Just to clarify. And we're not pregnant also.
We're not pregnant.
I had a doctor's appointment in Chipping Norton, and as previously said, I can't drive, so I called Jonty. Please drive me to this faraway land.
Chipping Norton, very pretty, gotta say. Lovely.
Very nice Costa.
Yeah.
Very nice doctors as well. Would recommend. Yeah,
nice, excellent. So Chipping Norton Health Centre, big part of our audience.
Shout out.
The health
center.
Yeah.
Massive. And it got me thinking about medical stuff and stuff that I was thinking about at church this Sunday, because I go to one of those new Pentecostal mega churches, except it's a quite small branch, so it's like a mini mega church, which I think is called a church. And at this thing, I love this church. I really find them way more progressive than one would expect of like a mini mega church. And but they do talk about healing. They're like a faith-orientated kind of place. So they genuinely believe that God is going to bless you and He's going to heal you if you have enough faith. And I find that quite problematic because I've had friends who've like tried to get pregnant, weirdly, for whom it wasn't as easy as it was for me and Laura. All the potential speculation about why Jonty is driving you to medical. And they always had.
Can we just clarify? It's because I'm anemic. That's why I had to go to the doctors. I just want to clear this up. I'm anemic.
She's anemic.
I can't drive. That's the only reason you're here. So I'm anemic and I can't drive.
All the people listening going like, wait, you can't drive if you have anemia?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That is exactly the case.
Take away your license.
So it's like if you have eye problems.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hannah, if you're listening. She's not listening.
She could be though.
She should be, because it's not like she can read right now.
She can see.
We have a friend who's had an eye operation recently. Yeah. So anyway, my point being that those friends who tried to conceive for years but couldn't, always had really people who were trying to be really helpful, saying to them, I just know that God is going to give you a kid now because God promises to give you a kid. I don't think He fucking does, by the way. But anyway, God promises and we're going to rest on His promises, and I just know that He's going to give it to you. And then, obviously, every month they'd be disappointed for years and years and years, and how damaging that can be. Or telling people, I just know that your cancer is going to be healed this month, or right now it's going to be gone, and then it's not gone. And the potential damage that does to your faith. And so I have a problem with it, but then I also have a problem with my progressive Christian friends and some other churches that I've been in, where the message is not quite overtly, obviously God is not going to heal you, but it is pretty much like, what's the point of praying for something this concrete? And there's some judgment about praying for yourself, and for blessings on yourself. Like it's somehow selfish to be praying to be healed from something, but also there's no way God's going to show up in that way. There's no way He's going to do that for you. I find that like a modern day equivalent of the Sadducees. Do you know the difference between the Pharisees and the Sadducees?
Remind me.
Let me mansplain it to you. And if I'm getting this wrong, listeners, please do write in and tell me. I mean, fucking write in for anything.
Please, write in.
I haven't heard from you in ages. I know you're listening because I can see the stats, but just nobody's talking to us. So, the Pharisees were... you had these two religious groups in the Bible, right? When they talk about the Pharisees, they're like a quite conservative, keepers of the law group who want to make the nation a little bit more, or a lot more, kind of focused on God, more orthodox, keep His laws, The Sadducees, the big difference between them and the Pharisees is that the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection of the body. They did not believe that there was going to be a life after death of any kind, and they in my mind they're kind of like a despiritualized religious class, still religious, but they've decided that the supernatural, the spiritual, all those elements are things to just be kind of excised, which you see, I think, on the progressive and liberal side of the church quite a lot. So I believe that God is God. I believe that He intervenes. I've had prayers answered for me in what I believe is a miraculous way. And I've seen it happen to other people, and I believe that He can. He's God. He can heal. I think for me, the problem is that He doesn't always. Like if you say He doesn't heal, I'm going to say, well, but He can, and there are people who have testimonies of God miraculously healing them. But if you say he's definitely going to heal you, there's plenty of people who can tell you, well, then why the fuck did my whatever die, you know?
Because do you think that is the problem? Is it somebody in a human sense telling somebody that they are 100% sure definitely it's going to happen? Is that the problem in terms of like, because you can be convinced in yourself that God is going to heal somebody, or God is going to, give somebody a child or whatever.
Yeah.
And also not tell that person that you are 100% convinced that that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that a better way to do that? Like, is it because, but then it's also, I don't know, is that also gracing doubt in your, well, I'm not going to tell them just in case?
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, is that then undermining faith? Because faith is about believing, is genuinely having faith in things that maybe the world wouldn't think of as logical, or that you can't be certain will happen, and that's kind of the point of faith. And Jesus is big on faith.
Yeah.
But maybe the issue is like mixing up your spiritual gifts. Like, if you're going to tell somebody that something is definitely going to happen in the realm of God, you should probably have the gift of prophecy and know that it is God speaking through you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people speak as if they have the gift of prophecy when they have the gift of encouragement.
Yeah.
They just want to make you feel better.
Yeah.
They want to comfort you. They want to do all those things, which I think is one of the most underrated gifts in the church, is people who can speak positively into other people's lives. But you don't have to make it this...
Yeah.
You don't have to spiritualize it, because it's already spiritual.
Yeah. And also, there's another thing as well, like, in not a morbid way, but like, God can answer your prayers, like for healing or something, through death. In that, if you have cancer and somebody's praying that you be relieved of pain, one of the ways you can be relieved of that pain is through death and going to be with the Lord. And
so watch it when you're praying.
So
pray specifically for me to stay alive if you're praying for me.
But that doesn't, like, you can say to some, like, that also in a sense doesn't mean that your prayers have not gone unanswered.
Yeah.
That person is no longer in pain and they are in a better place. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we're thinking about it, I don't know, like...
No, I totally hear you. I think also for me, I have to navigate this because I think I have way less faith than I used to. I used to pray for God to intervene to help me pass exams that I hadn't studied for. And I know this makes Christians angry that I do it at all, or that I did it at all. But I did. I got through university with a first by doing that, and God answered. He gave me 85%, 80% for things that I had studied either the bare minimum or literally not studied at all for, but they were multiple choice. Like, and I'm not saying that I'm a good person in that. I'm saying that God is gracious and kind, and he heard my plea when I said, my mother will kill me if I fail this. So, I used to really believe in that, and I used to pray. And I was a man of faith, and the more I've learned about theology and about the religious life and all that kind of stuff, learnt in a worldly but Christian sense, the lower my faith has become. The more I've thought about, well, all the people in the world who do love Jesus and who suffer and die, that undermines my belief that God can act, and I think that's wrong. Like, he just sometimes doesn't. And I know, like, atheist friends or liberal Christian friends who have said to me, but if that's the God you serve, he could help you, but he doesn't, then fuck that guy. He's obviously an asshole. And I totally understand where they're coming from, but I don't think that's my focus. Yeah. And
I don't know that I would necessarily agree that he doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
Because I think there is always some intervention happening. I think God is constantly at work in our lives. I don't think it's a case of doesn't intervene. I think it's a case of doesn't intervene in the way that you are praying for and the way you're expecting for.
Yeah.
Which is what I mean about, like, praying for the relief of somebody's pain and then they die, I mean, that is quite I don't know, but...
And there's that thing that people say of, like, God will always answer your prayer, but sometimes the answer is no. Which is fair.
Yeah.
Because the number of times I've said, please let that girl fall in love with me. Don't roll your eyes at me, Laura.
It's very on brand for you.
It's very on brand. I'm being vulnerable here. It's not particularly vulnerable, is it? That's
no.
not. Nobody's surprised.
No one is surprised.
But I think that can be a quite unsatisfying answer, and it can also be a cop-out. But I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
I think there's a deep truth in that if we genuinely are people, especially evangelicals and Protestants, who say that this isn't a religion, this is a relationship.
Yeah.
And that it's not about appeasing some angry man in the clouds.
Yeah.
But it's about relating to the living God in a living way. Then we have to treat him like an actual person who has will and will choose whether he wants to. And it's in the Bible, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. And it doesn't make him a bad person when he doesn't, or a bad God when he doesn't do it. Because for me, you can't know what his purposes are. It's just that it's not very comforting to know that he may not heal you. But maybe it's more humble and it's more respectful, because you're asking the all-powerful God on your knees, please help me, please intervene and change the course of how this would go ordinarily. And if he does, that is miraculous, that is amazing. And if he doesn't, you're no worse off than you were before. Because I don't think these bad things, I think there's bad things that happen to us that are caused by other people. And there's bad things that are caused to us by just being situated in the world. You know, an earthquake isn't a negative thing until there are people around it.
Yeah.
Cells decay, and you can ask the existential questions. Why did you create a world in which disease was possible?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I don't know.
No, you need to know. One of us must know.
You're the one who studied philosophy.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Christian stuff. We did, actually. I was in South Africa, man. We talked about Christian stuff a lot. But maybe a more helpful way for churches to approach this, because I don't want to undermine the faith. I think that's amazing. And I love when churches preach, I genuinely believe that God is all-powerful, all good, and he loves you, and he wants to make your life better. I want to hear that preached. I just think when you say from the stage or the pulpit, and he is definitely, you pray now and he is definitely going to heal you. I know that we want to have that faith to believe that it's going to happen. I think we should come with faith and humility and say, he can absolutely heal you. And if it is in his will, then he will. Yeah. And if he doesn't, there's going to be a reason for that we might understand now or we might understand another time. But if we preach a faith in the fact that God is good and he loves you and he can heal you, that seems to me to be a good kind of way between those 2 points.
I think so. And it's also worth saying that the reason that you're not being healed is not because of sin or because of
lack of faith
at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that needs to be made clear sometimes.
Yeah, because people can be punished when the people who promise them that they will be healed discover that they haven't. They can I think there's a tendency to go, well, shit, we've got this system worked out. If you disprove it, then the whole thing falls apart. So instead of saying it's been disproved, we're going to say that it's your fault. Yeah. Which is really unhelpful and toxic and awful.
And not good.
Though, if we say this quietly, can we be grown up enough to say that if Jesus says to people, you were healed by your faith, maybe something is at play in that makes us very uncomfortable? Not to be used as a weapon against somebody, but if it is a positive thing to have faith, and if Jesus says, if you have even a mustard seed's worth, you're going to be able to literally move mountains. And if he says to non-believers in the God of Israel, you have been healed or your daughter has been healed because of your faith, there is something powerful in that. Yeah. But I don't think you can ever use it in the negative to kind of beat people up legitimately. Because you don't know. Because I think that's the thing is a lot of this comes down to certainty and arrogance.
How do we quantify faith? How do you quantify how much faith a person has?
Yeah. And how do you know that it was because of the faith element rather than, no, that's not God's plan right now. Yeah. And I know God's plan is a thing that makes people angry, but I think sometimes it is just the way that it's meant to be.
I would agree.
Hectic. Yeah. Okay, well, we've arrived at our destination, guys.
We are. Guess where we are, listeners? I bet you won't guess. that we're at the bowling alley.
We are
That's
at the
right.
bowling
We're going to go to Hollywood Bowl
So
on a Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning, rock and roll lifestyle,
Is it even
people.
open?
It's actually
Do
looking
they have
very
an
dark.
arcade?
They do have an
Can we go to the
arcade.
arcade?
You can go to the arcade. So exciting.
Well.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. And,
Thank you. I don't know if this was... I don't know what this was.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Just did we say anything useful?
I think we
don't
said
know.
some things that are
Did
useful.
we answer any questions?
Let us know if you found this discussion helpful or if it has sparked any thought. That'd be great. You can get us at beerchristianity@yahoo.com. You can also message us on Twitter, beerchristianity, and you can find other episodes of Beer Christianity at beerchristianity.libsyn.com.
We're also on Instagram.
We are also on Instagram, which is no longer down because we were recording the day after it all went down.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.